When and where were you born?
Chicago, Illinois, 57 years ago.
I was born on April 1956 at Lewis Memorial Hospital in Chicago, Illinois.
Where did you grow up and what was it like?
I grew up on the north side of Chicago in a neighborhood called Edgewater.
I grew up on Chicago's west side in a neighborhood called Austin. Austin was at one point it was its own community, and Chicago annexed it prior to 1900.
What were your parents like?
My parents were Irish and Catholic, and they actually raised 16 children. They were part of the Catholic family movement, and they were on the strict side, but that was probably to keep order in the house.
Well, my father was a World War II veteran, and he was very proud of that. And he was a disciplinarian, and he enjoyed having a good time and singing and partying, and he was kind of a happy guy. And my mother was a very nice lady and very typical for the time.
My best memory of childhood is gatherings of family, whether it was people's birthdays, because my mom would always make a homemade birthday cake, and the neighbors would come to sing happy birthday to whoever's birthday it was. And Christmas morning, waiting till everybody was up to come downstairs.
One thing I remember as a little kid, maybe in the mid-60s, sitting on the back porch with my father, listening to the Cub game, listening to the White Sox games on the radio.
On my mom's side, my Aunt Renee and Aunt Kay, because they were very much a part of our family growing up.
Growing up, my favorite uncle was my Uncle Steve, who he was actually my uncle because he was married to my mother's sister, but he is also my cousin on my father's side twice.
How did you choose my name?
Well, what number are you in the family?
73 or 76. Aunt Steele just told me.
Okay. So I was looking for a name that hadn't been used yet, and your cousin Maureen Aaron, actually, her birthday's March 17th. You were due March 13th, and you were born March 11th. She actually said, Aunt Renee, why don't you name your baby after me if it's a girl? And I said, oh, I don't know if I want another Maureen. And she said, no, Aaron. And then I thought, Aaron Rooney. Well, it's got kind of a ring to it. And then your middle name is after your godmother, Cecilia.
Mm-hmm. Even though you spelled it wrong on the birth certificate.
There's 2 different ways to spell Cecilia.
What was I like as a baby?
You were full of smiles. You were curious, and you would, you couldn't get enough of reading. You went back and forth between Grandma Bernice and me to be read to or to talk to.
You were a happy baby, and you were cheerful, and I wish we could return to those days.
You were eager to learn at a young age. You learned at a young age. You liked to read. Once you started reading, you were off and running. Mm-hmm. You were one of those kids that got in trouble for not putting the book down.
So you were always a very happy kid, always likable, and always very nice, unlike your brother.
If you could do everything again, would you raise me differently?
No, I don't think so. I think I did the best I could, and I guess the one thing I would maybe change or do differently would be the time that I spent with you having fun. I think I did spend a lot of time having fun with you, but there are parts of me that wish I did more of that. Like I know you shared, but that's a part of life, you shared the reality of your dad and I caring for Grandma Bernice, and you also shared the burden of me running and caring for my mom and dad and Aunt Reenie. I mean, but family takes care of family, so it's a constant juggling act.
No, I think that, at least in my life, I don't think I do anything different. I just hope I've learned from my mistakes, my errors, and I just approach it that way.
And how did you meet Dad?
I met your father
You can start with the...
through an ad
Yeah.
in the Reader.
Well, what happened was, one day, me and my buddy were sitting in our office at work. It was a Friday afternoon talking about stuff. And he had gotten at lunch a copy of the Reader, which was a alternative magazine in Chicago. And he was reading the single ads to me. And we were laughing and making fun of the people who would do something like that. And then he cajoled me and convinced me into writing one and putting it in. And I did.
And I answered it. I had been reading the ads in the Reader for a couple of years, and there was something about his ad that intrigued me, so I responded to it. He was taller than me. He outweighed me. He had more Catholic schooling than I had because he got his master's degree at a Catholic university. He was a Cubs fan. He liked Mexican food.
Wait, he put that in the ad?
He did. And so I responded to his ad, and he felt that he needed to answer everybody who responded to his ad. So he took or attempted to take out everybody that responded to his ad.
How many people responded?
I can't remember. I want to say 12.
For some known reason, about 10 women called me, and one of them was your mother.
And I remember thinking after our first date, we went out for pizza towards Giordano's, I remember, in the Lincoln Park area. We walked from my apartment, and he left pretty quickly after we were done with dinner, and I thought, oh, I'll never see him again. But he actually, I found out later, he was going to meet another girl, because he thought in fairness he had to meet everybody that responded to his ad if they wanted to.
Wait, so he responded to... Wait, he went out with you and then he went out with someone else like that?
The same day. That night.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But then he called me, I think the next day. We were 35, and we met in the end of August, and I think within 3 weeks he asked me to marry him. And
wait, back up. He asked you to marry him 3 weeks after you met?
Yeah. We were talking about it Labor Day weekend. It wasn't even 3 weeks.
When is your wedding date?
Our wedding date is November 27th, 1992.
Well, that's a matter of great contention. We disagree. I strongly believe, and I was there and know, it was the day after Thanksgiving we got married. And that's the reason you get married the day after Thanksgiving. Because it's always on a Friday, you always remember it, and a lot of people have time off work. Your mother, for some reason, she's hung up on a number. I think it's like 27 or 28. She contends November 27th or 28th. I disagree. It's the day after Thanksgiving, which doesn't move. It's always a Friday and a wonderful day. To celebrate it on the numerical date, when that could be a Tuesday before Thanksgiving, is nothing but silliness to me. It's just silliness.